Let's get started. My name is Jess Harder. I'm with Modev. We are excited today, in conjunction with NRF, National Retail Federation, and our partners at Manhattan Associates. We've got a great webinar today with really the topics that we're going to cover and the speakers, such great information. So I'm going to quickly pass it off here to Aaron Millstone from Manhattan Associates for Beyond the Hype, Speed to Value with Manhattan Agentic AI. Please, Aaron, go ahead.
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. And first off, thank you for joining today if you're joining live. And if you're joining for the recording, then greetings to you from the past. As Jess said, I'm Aaron Millstone, Senior Vice President of Customer Strategy and Applied Artificial Intelligence here at Manhattan Associates. And I'll be moderating our Beyond the Hype discussion over the next 40 to 45 minutes or so. And our focus is definitely speed to value with Manhattan Agentic AI. And a special thank you to the guests that I've got that will be talking here shortly. I believe that they will all have very interesting perspectives to share based on what they are seeing with their various artificial intelligence initiatives. But before we actually get to the guests, Jess, let's start with pulling up a poll question. And I think we'll use the poll question to figure out and moderate a little bit about how we talk about agentic AI. So the question is, what is your biggest barrier? Now, this is the second question I'm seeing. I don't know if there's the first question, Jess, that we can get to. But hopefully there's a question that sort of is focused on where everyone is in their various AI initiatives. Where are you in your journey? And there it is. Okay, so please answer this. We will use this to moderate our responses a little bit or some of our conversation. And we'll leave it up for a few seconds here. I don't believe that I'm allowed to vote.
No, not as a panelist. My apologies there for
That's
launching the wrong one. But yes, where is your organization and its agentic AI journey?
Yep. All right. So I feel like we should have the Jeopardy music playing in the background while the poll question is up. All right. While we are waiting. All right. So here you go. So the vast majority of you are early days, it looks like, right? Research mode, running pilots that haven't scaled yet. And then 13% are deployed in production with measurable results. And no one has not started yet bucket. Okay, that's awesome. So very helpful context. And it lends itself kind of nicely to the quick introduction I want to give before I bring in the speakers. And there are two percentages that I've been obsessing over about for the last year. And in fact, these two percentages were very influential in helping me to decide after a 30 plus year career at places like Accenture and Oracle that I actually wanted to come and join Manhattan Associates. So what are these two percentages or two numbers? It's 95% and 5%. Now, interestingly, the poll data is a little different than what those numbers are, but I'll come back to that in a second. So 95% is the share of enterprises that an MIT study from about a year ago says are delivering no measurable P&L impact after tens of billions of dollars of investment into artificial intelligence pilots, projects, and platforms. 5%. So 5% is the share of companies in a completely different but corroborating study that Boston Consulting Group says are actually generating value from artificial intelligence. So two different studies, 95 and 5, terrible odds of actually being successful. And I will say that polling was interesting because it says that 13% of you, not 5, but 13% of you are fully deployed in production and seeing measurable ROI. Anyways, but back to this 95 and 5 and why I've been obsessing about them a little bit, right? When you research the two reports, the reasons behind the 95 and 5 became increasingly clear in both sets of studies. 95% were implementing artificial intelligence as a general intelligence layer or a generic tool sitting generally above the enterprise, fundamentally operating as a bolt-on technology. And the 5% that were successful, they were being very specific in identifying use cases that were inside of core, typically back office business functions, And furthermore, those companies that were successful, were having success, were working with deep domain expert partners versus generalist AI platforms. And they were laser focused on ROI, all right, return on investment. And this is exactly why I was excited to join Manhattan Associates. I joined just over 6 months ago, right about now. And what's interesting about Manhattan Associates, we've approached artificial intelligence in a way that is focused on setting our customers up for success. Or as our CEO has challenged me and my team, is how do we make that 5% success rate in the market 100% success rate for our customers? And we do it through a couple different ways. One, right, and again, not to get too technical, but we execute AI inside the system of execution, not as a bolt-on layer, not above and outside of it. We also build agents that align to the way people actually work, right? So our agents are aligned to job functions. Our agents immediately understand the context of a supply chain. They know how to traverse our 100,000 plus API microservices based architecture deterministically and probabilistically when needed. And that's a nuance that maybe we'll get into in the discussion, maybe not, we'll see. But maybe most importantly, right, away from the architectural stuff, is we are measuring success the way our customers do in terms of business value. And in fact, I believe that our primary differentiation when we talk about AI with customers is exactly this. It's our ability to help our customers achieve value and to do it quicker than any other option in the market. That's not to say you couldn't do AI on other platforms, but our ability to get speed to value. So you can talk ultimately to many different vendors, people about AI, and you can have conversations about different large language models and ontology layers and knowledge graphs and all the stuff that goes into building enterprise AI. But getting to outcomes quickly, we believe that's actually what's going to separate winners from losers in the AI space. And that's why I'm so excited about this conversation. So we launched our active agents and Foundry platform back in January. We've had dozens of early access participants and customers now running agents in production. And I've got 4 people joining me today to talk about the speed at which they're seeing value. And it's not in theory, it's not in a lab, but it's live operations. And the 4 guests that are joining me today are Jerry from Pet Supplies Plus, Jag from Cardinal Health, Don from L'Oreal, and Pato from L'Oreal. And rather than me giving an introduction to each one of them, why don't I have each of you do a quick self-introduction and maybe explain a little bit about your organization, the role you play, and then maybe a little bit about the recent experiences with regards to your AI initiative. So just highlight whether you're busy deploying AI, dealing with AI at a strategic level, or maybe a little bit of both, but don't go too into the details or you'll take away from some of the questions. So I'm going to go in order. Don, why don't you go first? Just because I see you on my screen first.
Sure. Thanks, Aaron. My name is Don Bernick. I've been with L'Oreal 33 years, and I work in IT. I'm overseeing the internal and external warehouse and distribution systems we have across Americas. I've recently come off of a deployment of the Manhattan Active Warehouse Management across 16 of our internal DCs in North America and Latin America. Maybe just very briefly, L'Oreal's position on AI is we're tech agnostic. We are looking very strategically, and it is part of our strategic framework to integrate AI in every aspect of the organization, both internally and with our tools that we're interacting with our customers. So about 8 years ago, we became and took a position that we were going to be the world's leader in beauty tech. Now, what we're saying is it's augmented beauty. And very much we're looking to use AI to enhance the human delivery of our products and to enhance the humans at L'Oreal, but never to replace them. So a very strong ethical framework along with our AI approaches. And I would say today, all 65,000 L'Oreal employees have had mandatory trainings over the last year about AI. So the upskilling has been well in place, and I'd say we're well on the journey. L'Oreal has embraced it and is looking to move very fast, very quickly into the AI realm and to embrace the technology.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Don. Thanks for joining us. Jag, I'm going to move over to you next. You're next to my Hollywood squares here.
Good afternoon, all. Jag Mukha. I work for Cardinal Health. Uh, I'm on the strategic side of the supply chain, still part of the IT, more on the functional, defining the strategy, defining the flow in the warehouses, working with the business team on figuring out what the optimal process. I'm a trained industrial engineer. Always think about what the optimal, how can we get the best value of the technology and support our teams in the way we get the best value. And being with Cardinal for the last 12 years, the journey has been great. A lot of modernization programs in the last 12 years, end to end, from the ERP, warehouse management, all the areas of the supply chain. We went through the modernization. Currently, we're in a deep dive, upgrading our open systems to Manhattan Active. And one of the key initiatives we're looking at is the AI piloting, working with Manhattan team. The approach we've been taking, the corporate wise, the AI journey has been in all the space, all the areas, but my focus has been within the WM space. How can we bring the value? I think the one of the thing what I didn't hit on this one is how can we be the part of the 5% where we bring the values. That approach was pretty good, and being able to see some of the results what we are coming across there.
Thanks for the shameless plug there, Jag. The top 5% is what we aspire to be. All right, I'm moving over to Jerry. You're next on my Hollywood squares.
Good afternoon, everyone. Name's Jerry Troop. I'm the VP of Logistics for Pet Supplies Plus. And we started our AI journey at Pet Supplies Plus about a year ago. We've leaned really heavily into the technology. I think, as Don mentioned earlier, we've had mandatory training for all of our team members over that year. And we are fully committed to, as Don mentioned as well, finding ways to use AI to enhance our employees' and team members' ability to do their jobs and output. But specifically, my role in the organization is thinking about our strategic partnerships for the supply chain. And what we're doing is leaning really heavily into our relationship with Manhattan. We've chosen to pursue a path to unify our supply chain on the Manhattan Active platform. And so we're fully live with TM, WM, the planning piece. We're also using LM and yard management and some other things. But along that line, we have decided to participate in the early adopter program with Manhattan, and we currently have 4 agents running, and we've got 10 in various stages of development right now. So specifically, we're using the tools inside of our supply chain tool belt, and we are generating real value with those tools. I don't want to get too far into that, as Aaron asked earlier, for us not to do that, but we're really excited about how this thing is playing out for us as a company, and we are convinced that it's going to be a game changer and it's going to add real value to our organization.
Thank you, Jerry. All right, and finally, not last but not least, Pato, also from L'Oreal. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much, and good afternoon to all. So, just like Don, I work at L'Oreal. I am the business expert for all the Latin zones, which is Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, and Mexico. We have been working with the AI agents for like the last 6 months, more or less, but even more in these past two months, as there are like 4 agents that are being developed specifically for our needs. And me as a business expert, I also have like a lot of on hand with the tool itself, and I can only tell you that we are super excited to like show you all the value that we are seeing from it. And mostly because there used to be tasks that were quite daunting, that took like a lot of time, that really didn't gain a lot of value. Now they are almost fully automatized, so we are super excited to talk about that. And thank you for having us here.
Oh, thank you, Pato. Really appreciate all the introductions everyone did there. And again, like the range of experience on the panel is pretty awesome, right? Pato, business expertise is critical, right, to making these agents successful and work. So we've got everyone from like you that's like living and breathing this stuff and making it actually live and functioning inside the DCs, all the way up through strategy and expertise, right? So this should be a good discussion. All right, let me open up the panel. I'm going to open up a question for the group, and I'll pick the order. So start sweating now, but I'll broadcast the question. So we're 3.5 years on from really the big ChatGPT moment, which I think was November of 2022, where suddenly all the consumers, my kids, my parents, like everyone suddenly becomes aware of AI. And a lot has been promised about AI, specifically in the logistics space. So in one sentence, right, one sentence each, where is AI genuinely delivering value from what you're seeing in your companies, and where is it still oversold? And Jerry, I'm going to start with you.
Thanks, Aaron. So for us, I'd say AI is delivering real value where it's embedded into our operational workflows and doing things like exception management, shipment visibility, labor planning. We're getting to faster root cause identification, and we're able to respond quicker. So I think that's where it's adding real value. I think it's still oversold a little bit when it's treated as a standalone, just like as a chat bot or something off to the side, or a shortcut around fixing a data quality issue or something like that. So I don't think that's really where the long-term value is going to be. I think it's oversold there a little bit.
All right, great. Thank you. Jag, I'll go to you.
A lot of areas what Jerry mentioned earlier. The specific in my mind is business insights. How quickly the users can say, how can I troubleshoot here? How quickly I can move the products, move the OLPs, the cases back in the truck so that I can close the truck to meet out the timelines. That's one area we've seen some really good results. The next step to that one is, hey, why is this here, right? Providing the insights to the user for the quick resolution. That's another huge area we see the value on this one. Like looking forward for the next journey on this one is, can this be automated? I see this routine, and what can we do to take care of this before somebody has to do it? Make this as a virtual support team to be able to enable this, simplify the life of our operations team on a day-to-day basis is where I see the value though.
And what about where would you say it's overhyped?
Overhyped in a way, a lot of things come up in this one is just a visualization, right? I want this, I want this, I want this. But the focused areas where we see the value, getting to the 5% is a constant thing in how we try to evaluate on the solution there.
Well said. Got it. All right, Pato, let's go to you.
Yes, to me, where we are seeing like most value today is when the agent consolidate info from like a lot of areas. So basically, I identify which our bottleneck were and what our flows used to be with all this manual process. And now with these tools, we can like consolidate all that information. So there is like a lot less time waste for that analysis. And the part in which I feel that some people may like overhype AI is that it's like a magic tool that will do everything for you. But like to me, it is more value when it's just like some tool, some assistant that help each user to reach its goal, but not to work like as a standalone magical tool.
Perfect. Got it. All right. And Don, let me come to you.
All right. Again, I'm at a different strategic level, and I can say that L'Oreal has been integrating, like I said, at all levels of our company, internal, external products. So we were just at CES. We introduced the Beauty Genius tool, which is interacting with live environmental data to provide diagnostic information for skin diagnoses and to recommend products that people should wear. So real live examples of using AI to deliver real products. We've been using it in our digital platforms. For 2 years, it was introduced that we had already partnered with AI to deliver digital content online. Again, assisting and augmenting our writers that today write that kind of content. Where I think it's been overhyped, as Pato says, it's this silver bullet that's going to solve everything. We know there is no such thing. I have not yet seen it having the impacts in our operational space. This particular Manhattan tool is one of the first that we're taking and trying to deliver with operational results, and definitely we'll get into that a bit more, and how I can see that'll add some very distinct value in our organization, and from the feedback that Pato's already been getting from the pilot, we can see that it is delivering real value at the operational level. So looking forward to talking about this and about the embedded nature of a tool inside the Manhattan Active platform.
Great. All right. Thanks, Don. Okay. So now I'm going to go to some specific questions. And, by the way, the nice thing I think about that opening question is what struck me as I was listening to all of you answer that. We didn't rehearse that question in particular, right? But one of the things that struck me was that all of you kind of honed in on very specific use cases, right? Versus, and Pato actually said it nicely, versus like a generic tool that just kind of is the silver bullet. I think, Jag, you said something similar, right? But, the approach of, hey, I'm the CEO, so I'm going to buy everyone an AI tool and let you go figure out what to go do. I think the chickens have come home to roost a little bit in that scenario with the CFOs looking at token spend and all that stuff happening in the market. The specific use cases that you guys are seeing where the success is very consistent with what we are seeing in the market as well. So it's good to hear that's the case. All right, so Jag, let me jump to you and talk a little bit about, like, you've got a bit of an interesting supply chain, let's say, based on your industry. You can't go and I don't know. I'll pick on Jerry here for a second. The Pet Supplies Plus space. You can't go substitute one dog food for another dog food and have your consumer be okay. In fact, if you switch a drug with another drug, that's a life or death situation potentially, right? So it's not really an option. So can you talk about, like, again, a little bit of overview of your supply chain, what makes it a bit unique, and then what really matters, right, in terms of your supply chain at a high level, right? Not too deep, but
Just to give some background about Cardinal Health, we're one of the major pharma and medical supplies in the country. Like, we're one of the top three suppliers. We cater to the pretty much all the nation, all the zip codes. And the challenges for us is, like, if some orders is placed to us by cutoff time, end of the day, and we have to have the product delivered to the customers by next day. The timeline is a big challenge. And the second part of this one is a lot of regulations with the healthcare industries. One of the big initiatives we went through in the last 4 years is a Drug Supply Chain Security Act, where we have to track the serialization of the product, the whole end to end. We're going to track what comes in, what we track it, which customer got that one. That tracking was pretty much a digital twin for every product that leaves our DCs. That's another side of the challenge, right? With the timeline, with the regulations that we have to fulfill, it's one of the really challenging business. And the big part, one of the strong culture at Cardinal Health is we're taking care of the patients on the other side. And the impact to the patients is the big one. And at the end of the day, the accuracy of the product, to Aaron's point, and how we're delivering on the timeline, the inventory management is another big one, like very costly accuracy, all of that makes our supply chain very unique, and being able to provide this and the customers when they need it, what they need it, the right product at the right time there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. I think that's very helpful. So, all right. So you're a few months now into having agents running out of your hub, at least, right? And I know you're kind of looking at how you deploy or how you might think about it broadly, but just talking about just what you've seen in the hub, right? Just the actual business results. Because again, like you already have a pretty tightly run supply chain, right? Like it's dictated by regulations, it's dictated like life and death situations. So it's not like your supply chain was not well optimized already. But can you talk a bit about the results you've achieved with the agents? And by the way, also, I will preface this with, I know you've got human initiatives that you've been doing as well. And you're always hesitant to attribute too much to the AI versus the human initiatives. So I don't necessarily need causality, but why don't you describe a bit about what you've achieved and maybe a bit about how you've done it?
I think one of the approach we took on this one was the human side. Basically, we had a very focused Kaizen event. Like we were looking at some of the strong KPIs. How can we reduce the cycle time of the processes, right? And how can we improve the load time? How can we call that as an ROI, like out with inventory? How can we ensure we are shipping the product? What's expected from the DCs? Those were some really key metrics, and the results are promising. Like we're able to get to 20 to 30% reduction in cycle times, 30+% if the reduction is in the load time, and the obvious like being able to identify in inventory where it needs to be, reduce the shortages was another great accomplishment for this one though. I want to give the huge kudos to the operations team, how they took it. Like, hey, they understood this one. Hey, here's a gap. Here's how much it's taken. And on top of it, the AI insights, what Manhattan, part of this AI solution, what we built on this one, hey, I have to look at this is an exception scenario. I have to look at 8 to 10 keystrokes to get the information I needed, reduced to 1 or 2, right? That's a visibility portion of what we had to work with. On top of it, I mean, that was like 3 or 4 agents. We were able to implement that one, wave deselection, shipment progress monitor. Like another area we did was like the inventory hub was show me where the inventory is supposed to be in this location. I see all of these errors. Those were some really very helpful tools, leveraging what was already in the Manhattan, building some of that one. Those were some really good, strong outcomes, what we had to see some strong results on this one, though. I truly believe like the combination of focused Kaizen combined with augmenting with the AI solutioning, that was a really good combination to provide the business to see the results there.
Yeah, by the way, it's very helpful. And I don't want to put words in Pato's mouth, but I suspect Pato would probably agree with you, given that he's the business expert, that the operational expertise combined with the AI is what makes the difference. It's not like the tires on the car are the only thing that moves. Like you need the driver, you need all the other parts too. So, and I know we've had lots of conversations about causality versus correlation, and I think it's all great. So what's your, like, if you were to talk about, like, again, the effort to get these agents deployed, how much time did it take to narrow in on the use cases versus building and testing and deploying the agents versus measuring the benefits? Like, where was the most of the time spent, would you say?
I think the engagement, I want to go back to the business team, the engagement working with them. I'll take an example of like one of the outcome was an inventory hub, what we built there. It was a critical one. The business always, hey, anytime we implement Manhattan, the complexity of inventory team goes up, right? We knew that problem statement. Then the next level of what we did is, hey, what do you want to see this? Where do you want to see the improvements of this one? Then we came back with the use case on this one. Cycle count. I lose the ILPNs, right? And started that was quick. We tried looking for what are the quick wins that's going to come up. Give me this information, having that business engaged in the discussion, working with Manhattan team. Hey, this is what we want to see. Show us this one. Show me the ILPN activity tracking. All of this happening on one screen there, right? And the next level of that one is like being able to see the insight, who did it, what time they did it, what was the failure. Those were some really, this is one of the example of the use case. Typically, when we go through, going back to your point there, and this was like 4 weeks exercise, 3 weeks exercise. And
Yeah.
it was an iterative approach, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to bring everything at one time. Let me show and tell, get the input from the business. Hey, I want to see this differently. That piece of exercise was a good one. And you're building something what the business wants to see it. And feedback loop, having that continuous feedback loop really helped us to bring up the solution quicker to the business there.
So what I like what you said there, Jag, was the fact that business and IT jointly working on the use cases, iteratively going through this, doing it relatively quickly, right? Spending the time on the use case. Once you understand it, though, iterating quickly. I'm actually going to throw this over, Pato, to you real quick. The same question, right? Because um, again, I'm kind of curious what L'Oreal's experience was. Right, that's Cardinal Health, different industry, beauty industry now. Like, what was your experience in terms of what worked in terms of, again, building out the use cases, building the agents, measuring the benefits?
Right.
How long and how do you approach that?
Yeah, so basically what we did is to look at what were the flows that were the biggest pain, and that we saw like the most potential value from these agents. So to give you an example, here in our operation, the backbone is a replenishment, because like everything depends on that. If we are not on time with that, we are at risk on losing shipments. So basically, we deploy this agent, and like from the beginning, what it was very nice for us is that we deployed it directly on prod, because we knew that even if there were like some areas of improvement, as the agent itself is not doing any work, it is not doing any changes in the system. There was like no risk of having it, even if it is not in the latest version. And for us, it was very valuable that the feedback loop within the operation and Manhattan was super fast. Every time that we wanted to deploy any new enhancement, or that we have ideas on how to improve the tool, we will have it in prod like 1 week, or even before we raise this topic. So this was very encouraging for the team, because they knew that they were involved, and that their ideas were well received. And this is, of course, very motivating for the team.
Got it. Perfect. So just to play that back a little bit, right? Again, you described similar things to Jag there in terms of a very iterative motion. You obviously represent the business, and you were tightly engaged, and the team was working very collaboratively. Now, you said something that scares the hell out of every IT professional on the call, right? Which is, you basically said test and production, but you sort of said, yeah, but you guys understood the risk that you weren't activating a fully autonomous agent.
Right.
You were making a human in the loop so that there was no actions being taken. But Don, I'll ask you actually the same question, only because I think this is such an important point, and you represent the IT side of the house. And obviously, I think you worked closely with Pato and actually had him move from DC to DC to D, and even literally country to country to country, making sure that you guys were sort of working your way through this. So that tight knit approach between the business and IT and us, Manhattan, was critical, right? So can you anything to add on that, or is that the fair summary?
Well, definitely a fair summary. I think as Pato said, the key is the human side, right? This is where we're IT, as long as there's somebody using our systems, and there. I've been doing this, Aaron, for nearly 25 years, deploying systems in operations environments, in manufacturing and distribution environments. And I can tell you that my biggest challenge across all of those deployments is always the change management. It's about the people, it's the adoption, it's the learning, it's the expertise. And what I can see already, and I know from the experience of deploying, and as we all are, we vary in our expertise all across the world. This pilot that Pato is engaged in is a global pilot with Manhattan. So we have active pilots going in Europe, Asia, North America, and LATAM. So every continent is represented, and we've got people all over the world with all different types of capabilities and expertise. And that's really where I see the value, is this leveling of the playing field of bringing that expertise to users so that they can deliver in real time added value for our organization. And we're seeing value. The feedback from Pato is real evidence, and I think we'll talk more about it in some of the specific tools where we're using them.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
And I'm going to stick with you for a second, Don, so don't put yourself back on mute too quickly.
Sure.
Right. So Jag obviously talked about cycle times that are 20 to 30% type of improvements. He talked about load time improvements. He talked about shortages being reduced significantly. Those are exciting operational metric improvements, right? No doubt. And I know L'Oreal's had similar kind of benefits, but when you and I spoke at the beginning, you were talking about a perspective on AI that not a lot of people have talked about with us before, which was really around reducing the impact of employee turnover and knowledge loss. Right. Can you explain, maybe relay some of the stuff we had talked about previously, but I just think is fascinating in terms of the benefits.
No, definitely the first level of support in our organization are those people that have their hands on the keyboards in each of our sites. And not only all across the world, but in my own realm, inside the US, we have users. I have one of the best users I have in Cincinnati, and then I have sites I won't mention, but struggled to retain employees at those sites. And that constant turnover and the loss, the embedded knowledge that we did during 6 months of deploying the Manhattan Active and having experts in the deployment so that we would retain those knowledges. In some areas, we've already lost those employees. We know that the complexity of the analysis of, we'll take one of the base agents of waving and wave deselections as being a very common challenge that I have, especially in the US, where I have sites where 50% of the inventory is held externally to the DC. So when we wave, in fact, we ran into some challenges within Manhattan because we had so many deselections. My best waivers at the site, we had a top-notch waiver here in New Jersey that went down and helped our Little Rock site, went from more than 50% deselections in their waves to a 98% pass. And how did she do it? Because she was proactively reviewing the data and ensuring what we're putting into the system is going to be allocatable and actually value added for Manhattan. So we can see right away where a tool like a waving deselection, proactive tool, is going to help us. It's going to help us be more effective. It's going to help all those people across the sites. Instead of me taking one expert and trying to send her around to all the sites to help people, now everybody's got at their fingertips that same level of expertise. So that's really where I see huge added value is in that leveling of the playing field. I think one of our ways we're describing it is democratizing the expertise, right? Making it available to everybody.
That's a great way to describe it. Is actually democratizing expertise. It's like we are seeing across a number of our customers sort of up leveling of, or maybe not up leveling, but sort of reducing the dependency on individual superheroes, right? And letting everyone operate at a kind of an accelerated or higher level. All right, Jerry, I'm going to pull the conversation up a level a little bit. And again, I think we've got some good representative examples. You had opened in your opening commentary introduction around the fact that you're on this unified platform journey with us. So can you talk a little bit about the value you're kind of expecting to achieve with that journey? But then in particular, because this is an AI conversation, right? How are you thinking about AI with regards to that journey? Is it just a nice to have? Is it a bolt on? Is it fundamental? Like, again, how are you thinking about it? And you know, now we're 6 months into our Agentics being, you know, generally available, actually as of tomorrow. So we're on our half birthday. So I'm curious again as to how you're viewing all that in the journey that you guys are on.
Yeah, well, Aaron, for Pets Plus Plus, I'd say that the value of the unified platform is not just system modernization. It's more about creating a connected planning tool, warehouse management, transportation management, visibility environment, all of these things working seamlessly together, where decisions can be made faster, exceptions can be surfaced quicker. And then ultimately, the expectation would be that AI agents can eventually act on trusted operational data rather than downloading reports and having, like you mentioned, a bolt-on having, whether it's Copilot or whomever else, do some analysis on a report. We're looking at unifying this platform, getting all the data pools linked up, and then ultimately having AI tools operate, specifically agents, and maybe even leaning into the agents becoming more a less of identifying problems, and more of becoming autonomous, where we could grow into having the agents actually look at a problem inside of the system, and then take action on our behalf. So we're leaning into that. That's our long-term strategy, and then obviously we're going to have to grow through multiple iterations of use case identification, agent build out, proving these things to the masses, and then lean into achieving those types of visions.
So just to pick on that topic a little bit, because Pato actually said something similar, right? He basically said it's safe to test in production because we're not letting the agents actually take any actions, right? So you and I have had conversations about the kind of crawl, walk, run model, right? So, like, I assume this is a very intentional, like how you're building trust with your operations teams, right?
Yeah, listen, we've got a business to run. We have to mitigate risk, and so we're not jumping straight into full autonomy. As you mentioned, our approach is crawl, walk, run mentality. We first want to use agents to explain what's the data means. We want to investigate problems in the system, and maybe even have the agent start to recommend next steps. Then ultimately, we could see ourselves leaning into allowing guided actions inside of controlled workflows. So an example of that might be looking at wave progression amongst multiple departments inside of the building, having the agents that are working in our LM modules start to identify particular team members that we want to move from one department to another to protect throughput, protect cut times, and things of that nature. So we want to slowly work into the agent guided actions inside of those types of workflows, and then ultimately and only moving towards full autonomy once frontline leaders trust the output, once we understand the logic at a deep level, and once we can see measurable improvement in the daily work.
Perfect. Got it. Okay. Don, I'm going to hop back over to you for a second. Again, something you said in your intro triggered my thinking here too. Is that you mentioned that you guys are in the middle of a SAP migration, right? So the ECC to S/4HANA. I know in our private conversations, you mentioned that might have even opened the door, for example, for Manhattan Associates to come into L'Oreal. Great. That's awesome.
Yes.
But like, SAP has Joule. They have their Agentic AI platform. We have obviously our Agentic platform. You've said in the beginning that you're tech agnostic, but you're being very intentional about how you're looking at AI across the different platforms. Can you talk about that a bit? Like, how are you thinking about agentic AI in sort of these domain areas versus generically at the enterprise?
I can say that across many different applications. So I have some visibility across these different applications that L'Oreal has been partnering with, and as we know, everybody is coming to us with AI agents. We are piloting with Manhattan, and we want to pilot with SAP. One of the choices we took early on with our S/4HANA was not to use SAP's cloud-based architecture. We are migrating now to their cloud-based architecture in order to take advantage of their AI embedded tools. So it's clear that our intention is to go with tools-based AI where it makes sense. We know that and it's one of the leading advantages of going with an embedded agent is that you're providing base a level which I've already talked about, the wave deselection as a added value that we're able to hit the ground running right away. And we could, and in some areas, smaller applications, independent applications that we've built, we are deploying our own AI tools internally to work with those. But I think each one of them is going to tailor to the specific individuals. And, on larger basis, we are using, AI across the entire organization. We've built our own L'Oreal GBT, for example. That is a internally hosted, GBT that all the employees use. So we definitely are not, we're, like you said, tech agnostic, and we are looking to use whatever is the best agent that makes the most sense, that's going to deliver us value. In this case, it's a no-brainer from my perspective. Manhattan is a very specific application. The challenges that we have are very specific to Manhattan, and those agents we can see are already adding value. Pato talked about it, and it's one of my pet peeves during our deployments, was the replenishments was not highlighted enough, and often was a bottleneck. I was the replenishment, let's say, person that was constantly making sure that we were, keeping an eye on that. And Pato, he can talk about it, but he's told me that right away with the pilot, the replenishment agent has been one of the most successful agents to add real value in the operation.
All right, perfect. And it is funny. You've made a point of mentioning that this is a pilot with us a few times, but then you also described it as a global pilot. So I'll be really curious as to what your definition of no longer being in a pilot. But that's all right. Well, we can cover that one offline. Pato,
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over to you for a second, because Don just teed you up very nicely in terms of the outcome, right? So why don't you talk a little about, right? You talked about replenishment, but what are the agents you've got? What type of benefits are you seeing, right? You've already talked about the iterative, sort of very rapid approach.
Exactly.
Yeah, what are you seeing?
Yeah. I mean, just to follow this line and talk about the replenishment itself, we are seeing like a lot of value, because what we used to do is to extract information from the different report, and then join the data, and then try to understand what task is missing, which took a lot of time. It was very manual, and sometimes lead to even errors, because sometimes I don't know, you can cross the wrong data. So right now we can see all the information in one single UI. It's a lot more easier, like to know what it is going on, and what is a true bottleneck, and what do we have to focus on. And yeah, as I said before, the feedback loop was super fast. To just to give you some clear examples, in Mexico, the operation is huge, and sometimes it is not easy, like to know how many people to assign to each task, because they're like different area, different zones, and some people can be assigned to one of them, but not to all. So right now, with this tool, we can easily understand what is the bottleneck, in which area do we need to put more effort, more resources to tackle all the pending tasks. And of course, it's also very valuable to have everything in order by the shipment appointment date. So it is not that we just randomly see all the numbers. We can focus on what are the hot shipment that have to be dispatched in the next few hours. So we can assign all the resources in the right task.
Perfect. So that's so again, the thing that sort of struck me in there is you're seeing real results. You're seeing it across different types of facilities. And if you, again, I want to hammer this one point home, and you made it before, but I'm going to ask you directly again, just to hear it again, because I love hearing it. But like the speed, right? If you think about how fast you can get agents out the door and then giving feedback, and again, like you've got agents, as you said, they're helping your your employees traverse what has historically been lots and lots and lots of different data sets that are across many different things. And you got agents now that can see this data and give insights very, very quickly that you couldn't necessarily do easily before. But now the speed of these agents, how does this compare to what you're seeing? And again, maybe you don't have the 30 plus years of deploying experience here, but like, how does it compare from a speed perspective in terms of what you've seen elsewhere?
Yeah, so like I've been only been here for 4 years, so a little bit short of what Don has been here. But yeah, I mean, to me, in all the projects that I've been working on, this is by far the one that in which we are seeing the fastest response from the Manhattan team. As I said before, if we find some areas of improvement, they like in most of the time they are fixed within one week. So it's very encouraging for the team to know that all the point that that the race are taken seriously, and that all the improvement is based on feedback and not in random things that may or may not add value.
Perfect. All right, Jag, I'm gonna drop this same question over to you. I mean, you introduce yourself as a strategic supply chain guy, which I know at this point in your career you absolutely are. However, right, the little known secret about Jag is that you've done over 40 actual Manhattan implementations, never once being a Manhattan employee, but actually just implementing this stuff over and over again. So I'm guessing you've seen a thing or two in the technology deployment space. How, from your perspective, like, how does this compare from a speed from what you've seen previously?
It's impressive just to see the whole SDLC software development cycle from I've been on the journey and all the like the iSeries and the open system and now on the Manhattan Active. I have seen all the aspects of this one. I love the fact that Patricia was aligning on the same one. Being able to see this in weeks or days, bring the value to the business is impressive. I like just to I start with the problem statement, then I start with the here's a first view of what you're trying to look at it, and at least getting the continuous loop of feedback from the business and being able to modify it and get to the level of it's a true agile. I mean, I think bring value to the business as quick as possible, however far we want to go with, and you start it, learn it, implement it, take the feedback loop, and start working again on the new. I allow that part of it. And it's been a great journey there.
I couldn't agree more. Right, I think the pivot from an industry perspective from what the technology enables is unlike anything I've seen before. And actually, I'll summarize, then I'll do a quick round. Like, I'm looking at the time, we got about 5 minutes left. I'll do a quick little bit of a summary here, because what's common to what all of you guys are talking about. So again, speed to value, which is the topic of the whole conversation. Like, it's the technology enables it, but actually all of you guys have to structure your organizations to be able to handle it. So it's not just about like the technology itself, right? So we've got plenty of customers that have been trying to do agentics that are still putting in very process heavy, I'll call it normal tech gates, that maybe keeps the business at a distance. And none of you are describing that. Like, that model doesn't work. What you guys have all collectively described is that you've got the business and IT and the 4 deployed engineers from our side all working hand in glove, doing very fast iterations, very fast loops, and laser focus on that business value. So again, I think that's commonly coming out from across all of you guys. So I'll do a couple quick speed round questions for everyone. And Jerry, I'll come over to you. And this is a fun one, right? I've made you do this once before. I apologize for making you do it again. But if you had to do a very fast 30-second sales pitch, given that we know the audience is at various stages of thinking about it or doing their own pilots, what would be your sales pitch if they're thinking about piloting agents in the supply chain?
Yeah. So first of all, I'd say, you don't want to run pilot AI for the sake of AI. You want to pick painful, repeatable processes. You want to define business outcomes. You want to, and then you want to link your operations and IT people into the same governance model. Some of these things can be done with these bolt-on applications, such as, like I mentioned before, ChatGPT or Claude or whomever. You can download information. You can put it out there. But my sales pitch for Manhattan would be that when you've got an integrated solution and you can put agents and autonomous tools in effectively working inside of those constrained systems, I think that your outputs over time are going to be much better because you're going to be able to mitigate the human interaction piece of it. You're going to start being able to automate more things. And I believe that over a 3-year period, what you're going to see happen is that these AI tools are going to become more of an enhancement to your business, and they're going to actually become invaluable. And like I mentioned, having that happen inside of these controlled environments are going to be critical to being able to mitigate the human interaction long term.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Jerry. Hey, Don, I'm going to go to you. You guys, L'Oreal, you've presented the breadth of the AI that L'Oreal engaged in for a number of years, actually. So, but I'm going to ask you to put on your best salesperson's hat for Manhattan Associates. How would you pitch us to this audience?
I would pitch it similar to Jerry, an embedded AI. A lot of what our users struggle with is doing analysis, trying to extract the data, the time to analyze the data, as Paolo said, maybe joining tables and building customized reports. That time, it's really hard to put value on it. Aaron, I'll give a very specific example. During a deployment at our luxury warehouse, we had a truck worth $3.5 million in the door. We had a shipment problem. That driver was on a prepaid load, so he had no vested interest in staying in that door for us. Yep. And he pulled out of that door. And it took us another 20 minutes to analyze and find the problem and to call the driver back, and we finally got that loaded. But it's clear, just the one shipping agent, I know for a fact that is going to pay for itself over and over again. The demands of a supply chain is all around timing and speed. And if we can reduce that, if we can eliminate, and a few times it's hard to put value on it. That $3.5 million truck, maybe I would have recovered $2 million in net sales. I don't know, but we might have lost $1 million. Easily, those kinds of agents and reactivity operationally is critical, and AI is going to facilitate us with operational tools like the Manhattan AI.
All right, well, Don and Jerry, you guys are both hired. Well said. Really well said. Pato, Jag, I apologize. I'm gonna have to cut it short. We are right up against it, but I do want to thank all 4 of you for joining and participating in the discussion. It was really great insights and very consistent with what we're seeing in our 5% of the customers that are 100% successful. It's not 5%, right? But 100% of our customers we're making successful. But we are everything you guys described and where you're having success, very consistent with what we're seeing the best of our customers perform. So thank you so much for participating today. Hopefully, from an audience perspective, you guys got some good insights, and appreciate it, and talk soon.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.